All right, welcome back to Newmaker's interview with Jillian Knight, a financial therapist. In this video, we're going to be talking a little bit more about budgeting, specifically the trauma that can sometimes come from budgeting. Jillian, I know that you've had experience with some of these really popular budgeting tools that are maybe a little bit more rigorous and a little bit more confining than others. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, sure. When my husband and I got married and we realized how much debt we were in, we quickly got on a plan to start paying that down and followed a really popular, well-known program, especially well-known and used in the South. And it, you know, at first it got us on the same page in terms of we had a plan that we were working on together. We weren't really making enough money to really make much of an impact. Like we couldn't even afford to pay the interest to keep up with that. So that was really hard. And that program really encourages or really discourages really any spending on anything enjoyable or fun. And we started telling people we couldn't get together with them. We didn't really have any even fun money in the budget to begin with. And we started to make some progress, especially once our income increased. So it was just really like based in like deprivation. It felt like we were just kind of depriving ourselves of anything enjoyable in order to, because like we just felt like we were just kind of having to suffer and sacrifice, and that it was like that was the most important thing, was like getting out of debt. We spent about 3 years really hardcore focusing on that. And I really, after the fact, noticed that it really impacted our mental health. It impacted our relationships, our relationship with each other, our relationships with friends and family, because we had, stopped going out with people, stopped getting together to do things. So those relationships kind of mostly like fizzled.
So it sounds like you had a really negative experience overall with this type of budgeting technique.
Yes, I would say it was a very negative experience. I try to look for like the positives from it, but it had some really lasting effects on us in terms of just kind of this like real, there's a lot of like shame. It's just a very shaming approach that makes you feel bad for having debt. It makes you feel bad for like spending any money that's like outside of the budget, and that you shouldn't be going out to dinner, going on vacation, or anything like that. And so that's really not any way to live well. It's very unhealthy. It's very rigid. And it took us, 3 years to realize that it was really more harmful than it was helping. And it's taken time to really like process the lasting effects of that.
It's fascinating. I wrote an article about this not long ago, but talking about how I've seen so many people, men and women both, fail out of these more rigorous business-like accounting methods when it comes to budgeting. And the thing that was common in all of their failures was not them, but the fact that they expected to be able to live with, for lack of a better term, like a robot.
Mhm.
That they weren't experiencing a whole lot of joy. They weren't experiencing a whole lot of positivity in the way that they were budgeting. And the bottom line is, it doesn't matter if you are budgeting in the best possible way and optimizing everything. What matters is whether or not you're going to be able to stick with it, and whether or not it makes your relationship with money and yourself better. And it sounds like a lot of these budgeting techniques have not done that for you or the people that you're familiar with.
Yeah, I would say that's absolutely been my experience. Yeah, it became like the most important thing in life was to get out of debt, and that can be important, and it has helped a lot of people become debt free. It also can be really harmful and make you feel really bad about yourself in the
Yeah,
process. And
yeah.
it's just it's not worth it. And it wasn't worth it for us to continue down that path.
Is there any advice that you would have for people who are maybe unhappy with the budgeting that they're in right now, or feeling a lot of the same things that you're feeling, and would like to kind of get out of that and drop that? Do you have any advice for those types of people?
I would just say, like, money, there's so much shame wrapped up in money already. Like, a lot of us already feel bad. So many people feel bad about themselves because of their financial situation, whether they have money or don't. And that there are other ways, like, you don't have to feel bad about yourself in order to improve your financial situation. In fact, I would argue that in order to really improve your financial situation, it's much more helpful when it's an approach that comes with empathy and validation and doesn't make you feel so alone. And I would just say there are other people out there talking about personal finance. There are other places that you can get this information, that there isn't one way to do things, that it really is personal. That
Yeah.
it's really your specific situation, and that, following a plan that requires you to do things in order and in a certain way does not work for everyone. Just like, I mean, I think it often kind of gets compared to things like diets. Like, going on a really restrictive diet might help you lose some weight in the short term, but it's not a healthy way to do it. And it's not going to be what's best for you overall long term. And it's not sustainable. Like, this is not a sustainable way to live. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
One thing that my wife always says to bring her up again is that you'll know when you're on the right path because taking steps is easy. And, I always think about that when I think about budgeting, because there are so many people out there that are having such difficult times taking that next step with their budget. And so many of them feel like it's them when it might actually just be the way that they're budgeting. It works for some people, it doesn't work for others. And if it doesn't work for you, you'll know that because it's hard to do it. It's hard to keep that budget. So I think
And
everything you
there's,
said is, oh, go ahead.
oh, I was just going to say, there's just so much flexibility, and there's so many ways that you can be more aware within yourself of the aspects of budgeting that are really more anxiety producing, or where those kind of, like, what it is about that way of doing things that doesn't work for you, and making even small changes to that approach, that making it work for you based on so many factors, based on your personality, based on, whether you're struggling with mental health issues. There's just so much nuance to it and complexity that systems or programs like that don't allow for that.
Yeah, I think that at the end of the day, budgets are supposed to be something that reduce your anxiety. And so if it's increasing your anxiety, it's probably time to look for a new budgeting style. So, well, wonderful. Well, Jillian, it has been so wonderful talking to you. Thank you so much. We're going to wrap the interview up here. Of course, Jillian's information is going to be in the description. Please check out her website. It's absolutely wonderful. And thank you again, Jillian.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This has been great.
Wonderful.